Well, what a good night that was. Very wet, had a lot of heavy rain, but myself and a Lithuanian couple basically just braved the weather. We stood outside having a drink, having some beers and drinking mead, which if you don't know what mead is, it's like a beer stroke wine that is made from honey, and it's what the Vikings used to drink basically. They'd make it out of honey, and they had, if you look back through some of the history, a building called the Mead House, which was a bit like the pub, you know. And it's a very sweet beer, basically. Very nice. Gets very Moorish, that's a problem. But at about 10 o'clock, the midges became so bad that it just drove everybody back to their tents, and I think that's where everybody stayed then until this morning. Had a lot of heavy rain this morning as well, so all the ground and everything is soaking wet, but it's brightened up, and I think, looking at the forecast, it's going to be sunshine and the odd shower here throughout the day. So I think what I'm going to do is tidy up, do a few camp duties that I need to sort out, have a couple of drinks and things, and something to eat, and then I might go snorkeling. So I just had a go at snorkeling in that area over there, and it's really hazy. The water is really hazy. It's what we call a thermocline, where fresh water and salt water mix. I thought that was what was happening, that's why I couldn't really see anything. So I decided to hop over the rocks a bit to a little beach that is round there, and we've got a freshwater stream coming down into the sea. So that's why this area is it's all hazy, like cloudy, and it's a thermocline where the two waters mix. And you can tell as well, because you'll be in one area and it'll be quite warm, which is the sea at this time of year, and then you'll be in another area which is cold, which is fresh water running down off the mountains into the sea. So I'm going to hop over these rocks now and to that beach around the corner and see if it's any better there. So I didn't see much life down there really, other than that big mother of a jellyfish, which I obviously stayed away from. It's very hit and miss with the thermocline, whether you got fresh water or salt water or the mix. And I think these rivers, obviously running down off the hills as well, they're running through the peat bogs, and that's why there's a browny tinge to the water. It's the peat coming down in the freshwater streams into the sea, into the bay. And the campsite, the toilets on the campsite, you go to the toilet and you think that water's filthy. It's because they're flushing the toilet with river water, and it's got all the peat in it, so it's got this horrible brown colour that you would perhaps think somebody had left a deposit in the pan for you, but no, it's just the colour of the water on the hills. And that's quite normal up here. You know, you get it all the time. You get it in North Wales, you get it in the Lake District, you get it in the Peak District. It's just the way mountainous terrain is. So I think, other than going a long way down the shore to get away from these streams, it's not the best snorkeling area, to be honest. What I'm probably going to do, I think, because I need to be careful where I am, because the tide's out at the moment and it clearly comes in, just looking at the rocks, it comes in, and I could potentially get stuck here, although I could probably scramble up the bank behind me and up onto the road, to be fair. But what I think I'm going to do is wander back down the beach towards the campsite and nip in the sea further down there, away from these freshwater streams that are running in, and just see if it's any different. So I'm just back at that freshwater stream, and you can see the colour of the water. It's got that browny tinge to it, and that's just the peat being washed all the way down from the mountains and into the sea. So unless you were to go quite a way out here, you're really not going to have the best visibility. So I'm going to head back up across here. And I'll head back along the beach there to the campsite. Well, there's dinner for tonight. Pleased with that. I've been down here an hour and a half perhaps, and I've got those two. I had another small one, but I put that back. It wasn't worth keeping, so. But give you an idea of scale. There's my hand, so yeah, I've got dinner. So another day. That mackerel last night was amazing. So different to what you get in the supermarket that has been frozen or, you know, out of the water for ages. It was literally caught on the barbecue within an hour, and fantastic. A lot of fish there as well, probably more than I would have thought. You know, it was a big meal, that was. But I made myself eat it all, because if you killed it, you need to eat it. So I've changed my plan a little bit for today. I was going to move on to Bad Rallick, which is on Little Loch Broom, a bit further south, but I like this place so much. But I thought I'll stay another night, and I've let the guy at Bad Rallick know that he can free that pitch up, and obviously I'm not asking for a refund. I've cancelled it. You can keep the money, and then if you can fill the space, he's quids in, isn't he? So happy days. And, you know, it's £10 that I've lost, but that's nothing. When you do a trip like this, it's just do what's right, and what this place is just amazing. I mean, look at the view over there. I don't know if you can make out on the camera, there's a tiny little house over there on the island, and then over on that island behind me there's a few houses there. It's just incredible. And this is one of my new favourite places to be in Scotland. Ardmore Point, about 3 miles north of Ullapool. Absolutely fantastic. And I think today I'm just going to chill out, look at nature. I'll be doing some more fishing later, see if I can catch some tea again, and just going to have a mooch around, I think, on the beach and in the rocks. I'm not going to bother snorkeling. We tried that yesterday. I do need to fix my stove. That's got sort of gunged up in with fuel, so I'm going to take that apart. I might show you actually how that all comes apart, and just have a bit of a prep day, getting ready to move on tomorrow, and just get a few things done in camp. So I've decided to have a drive out, just for a change of scene. So there's Ardmore, where I've been camping. I've driven along the road north and took this side road, and I'm at this cove here, this beach, and it is stunning. And here we are, there's the beach, and just look at that scenery. Little car park at the end here. Look at all those mountains and coves and rocks, and it's just stunning. So just doing a bit of fishing, trying to catch my tea again, and it's my last night here at this campsite, and it's a shame really, because I really liked it, and having been out on that headland, that point today, with all that beach and that snorkeling area and everything, yeah, I wish I was staying here a bit longer, but I've got this other place booked, and it's pretty much a campsite on the beach again, and I think it's a sandy beach, this one. So I don't know what the snorkeling will be like, or the fishing, or anything like that, but the thing with Scotland is the more times you come up here, the more time you just keep finding new places that are better than the last. And today will take a bit of beating, I must admit, but who knows what tomorrow's going to bring. So I'm going to see if I can catch some tea. If not, I'll do something else and have an easy night. So I'm at my new campsite for the next 2 nights, and what a place it is. And this is what I said, you keep going around Scotland and you'll keep finding places that were better or as good as or better in a different way than the last place. And look at this. This is my camp for the next 2 nights, overlooking the sea, beach down there, and then at that end of the beach looks like we've got some rocky area and some rocks going out into the sea and what have you, so that's going to be good for snorkeling and fishing. And the tide is obviously out at the moment, but I think later when it comes in I'll be getting the rod out and trying to catch tea again. Got quite a lot of rocks at that end as well, and I think when the tide comes in most of that will be underwater, so all of this could be a good area for snorkeling and fishing. So I'm just got the tent open at the moment, got my sleeping bag out, it's just slid off. It should be on top of the tent, it's just slid off. Opened it up just to vent it, and because obviously when you're in a tent it's a nylon structure, condensation builds up, things start to get damp, so you do need to vent things and just air things off. And the other thing is putting it out in the sunlight actually kills any bacteria. UV rays from the sun, they're probably one of the best disinfectants you can get. So just letting things dry out and air, and I think I'm just going to have a cup of coffee and just sit here and enjoy the view. It's absolutely amazing. Okay, so I've got my fire roughly set up, my fire pit, and I just want to get kindling ready now for later. Now, I've got no small stuff at all with me other than these sticks that I brought from home. Now they're far too big to light straight from a lighter or a match or anything like that. So I'm going to split them down using my knife. I've also got an axe for the bigger stuff, and before I do that I'm just going to give everything a quick sharpen, because it's been a while since I've used these, and what's really good is a sharpening puck, just an abrasive stone. You've got a coarse and a rough side. You can get these for about 10 quid, and they're really good. Bit of water and sharpen your blades up. And when it comes to sharpening, if I was at home I'd probably do this sort of motion, but when you're in the field, especially when you've got an axe, sometimes it's easier to do that if you haven't got a bench or something flat. Either way, it's very important that you follow the grind, it's called, which is the angle of the blade. Now this is a bushcraft knife, it's a Condor, made by Condor I think, and it's a good quality knife. I think I've paid probably 60 quid for it. If you're in the UK, be wary. A 3.5 inch blade is the legal limit for a fixed blade, I think, but it's a grey area, so please go check the law. And this has got a Scandi grind, where I think that angle between the two pieces is 30 degrees, and it's called a Scandi grind because I think it originated in Scandinavia, home of the bushcraft, wilderness living, etc. So I'm going to give this a sharpen. I've also got my axe, which I'll sharpen up. It's definitely not got a very good edge on it at the moment, and that just makes life a lot easier, faster and safer. A sharp blade is always safer than a blunt one. So because I'm on sand here, if I try and split that, obviously all I'm going to do is knock it in the ground. So I'm just going to put a bigger log in place, ready as like a chopping block, and then using my knife and a heavier log as a hammer, I'm just going to split the wood. And when it comes to getting a knife, I always go for a full tang knife, so the steel that the blade is made of goes right through the handle as well. It isn't just a spike that is stuck in the wood at the handle. I prefer the handle to be clamped to the steel, and that makes the knife a lot stronger in my opinion. This is a full tang blade. So I'm going to want lots of pieces like this and thinner to get the fire going. So I'm going to make a bundle of this out of the thinner twigs and sticks that I've got, and then we'll get on to using the axe and getting some slightly bigger kindling for the fire. So as I said, I'll put these two logs down next to each other as a base for me to chop wood on. Now this is it's actually the old Lelandais, big Lelandais out my garden, a conifer type tree, and it's softwood, so it splits fairly easy. It's been seasoned now for over a year, so it's pretty good. Now if this log was a bit bigger, I'd probably try and stand it up in there, but as you can see, it's just not gonna have it. So what I'm going to do is position the log like that on top of the one underneath on the sand, put my blade there, my axe, and I'm going to bring the two up together like that and down onto the wood. I don't want to be doing this because it could be sliding off all over the place. This is going to move as well, this log, and it's going to make life difficult for me. And once I've got it started, I can then now, if that was on a hard surface, a couple of hits and that'd have gone through. But what's happening is every time you hit this, the log gets deeper in the sand. So fill that hole in with some fresh sand and put the log back. what you're doing is compacting the ground underneath each time you hit it. I don't want to chop this end because there's a knot here where a branch was growing out. It's going to make the wood harder. So I'm going to chop it at this end. So that's my wood split and graded for the fire tonight, getting it started. And then once these are on, I'm just down to whatever comes out of the bags really. So when I say graded, it's graded in size, and that is the thickness. So I want some really thin pieces like this to get it started, then slightly thicker and thicker again, and so on, until you've got your fire going. Okay, so the tide's coming in, it's turned, it's coming in again now, so I'm going to go fishing. I'm going to head down to those rocks I mentioned earlier that stick out into the sea. Always a good place to start because fish like the security of the rocks, and if the small fish are there, then the bigger fish, the predator fish like the mackerel and that, will be there too, hopefully. Although, because this is a sandy area, I did, when I was in the tackle shop a few days ago, knowing that I'd probably end up this way, and with it being sandy, I bought some sand eel as bait, because if there's no mackerel here and no predator fish as such, and the old mackerel feathers aren't working, what I might do is change the setup, use some sand eel as bait and fish them just off the bottom. So if we do that, I'll show you how I'll set that up. So this gives a good idea of how shallow this area is. Where this line of seaweed is here, and you've got dry fluffy sand above it, and then down below it you've got the hard damp sand. Well, that was high tide yesterday, so, or this morning. So I'm going to have a walk along near the water's edge and through this bit here, this runoff, and just see what's lying around. It give me an idea of what bait's about, maybe, which might give me an idea of what fish are about, and you never know what I might find as well. It's been washed up. So I'm in amongst the rocks that I'm going to fish off, and what you've got to be careful of is that you can get out if the tide comes in and you're not paying attention. So in this instance, where we've got the light colour, the brown beigey colour, that's actually all the marine life, all the cockles and little shells that are stuck to the rocks. Look. Then we've got the darker rock above, which is mostly out of the water. As you can see, there isn't a lot to go at, and in this area here, I think if it was a really high tide, you'd struggle to get out. without getting wet, that is. So I'm just going to have to keep my eye on the tide as I'm fishing. So as I was saying earlier, all these channels are starting to fill in now with the tide coming in, so I've had to move off the rocks at the end, otherwise probably another half an hour and I wouldn't be able to get back across without getting wet anyway, which I don't really want to do. Look at that view, look at those mountains. So I'm going to reposition myself somewhere over there on the darker rocks where I can stay permanently and probably put a sand eel on for a few hours until a bit later on when the tide's nearly all the way in, and hopefully the mackerel will be running then. So I've changed the setup now to, so we've got a sand eel as bait, we've got a float, and we've got a heavy weight on the bottom. And the idea is that the weight is on the bottom, the float is keeping the bait off the bottom, and the bait's there flapping about in the current. So the sand eel, I've threaded the line through the body of the fish, so, and the hook you want pointing backwards, because most predators will attack head on. That way the fish slides down nice and easy. So that's what I'm going to try. I'm not certain if that weight's going to be strong enough or heavy enough to keep the line in one place, but we'll see. Well, no fish tonight, so we're going to have to open a tin or something. So I think I'll peel some spuds, carrots and whatever you put some stewing steak or Irish stew, something like that, out of a tin. But what a gorgeous evening. It's still really hot and it's about 7 o'clock, and just look at the sun on the water there. Could be a really good sunset later. Okay guys, well, the tide is in, the wind's dropped, which is quite often the case. It gets a bit breezy in the afternoon, the tide's coming in and then drops, but that means the midges are going to be out soon, and I'm also getting hungry, so get the fire going. Hopefully smoke will keep the midges away a bit and I can get some tea cooking. So I've got my tinder bag here, and in here I've got all sorts of stuff, char cloth, which I'll show in another video probably. Got some birch bark, got some fat wood, got armadillo, which is a tinder made from the horseshoe fungus that you find growing mainly on birch trees and things like that. Dead, it grows on dead trees mainly. But today I'm going to try the birch bark. Not done it for a while, so it's good to keep that practice going. So I'm going to pull off a few bits to help me once I've got a spark. So these are like the second part, if you like. Get a flame and then put these smaller pieces on, and then I'll be moving on to the really thin kindling that I made. So just going to break this up a bit. Get some of these strips. Okay, now this bit I'm going to try and get a spark off my ferro rod to ignite. So I'm going to start this out of the tray purely because I need a bit of room. So with my knife I'm going to scratch this birch bark up into the finest dust that I can make. So we've got a pile of shavings there. So now I'm going to put my little tray there. There's another camper there making a bit of noise, apologies. Put that in there. Have these shavings ready to go on. I've got my other stuff there. Lighting fire, it's all about being ready. If you've not got a component of the fire ready and you get it lit and then you haven't got it to hand, you have to go get it and everything else, chances are when you come back it'll have gone out. So what I'm going to try and do now is get these shavings to light using a spark from this. And then quickly get these other bits on. And then some of the really thin wood. I think we're there. Right, I'm going to go and get some thicker wood that I chopped earlier and we'll get some tea cooking. Well guys, that's the end of my trip, I'm afraid. I really don't want to go home. Look at it. It's been a fantastic time, and as it always is in Scotland. And I did everything that I wanted to do. Fishing, snorkelling, some R&R, practice some bushcraft, etc. So, yeah, time to go. So thanks very much for watching the video. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do. And follow me on the journey to become more self-sufficient. And in the next video, it will all be about vegetable gardening.